Hey there, internet friends. Welcome to That D Plus Show. Class is in session for the only show from that nerdy site that lets you know what kind of quality to expect right from the name. I'm your host, Trevor Starkey, and each week we dive into a different Disney Plus offering and discuss its history, how it holds up today, and our general impressions. Joining me once again today, we have Logan Wilkinson. How you doing, Logan?
I'm doing wonderful.
Excellent, excellent. Today we're going to be talking all about Lego Star Wars Summer Vacation. The last couple of these little Lego Star Wars specials, I've had Frank with me. Frank's been going through some stuff, so he's unable to join us this week, but Logan pitched, let's chat about this. I think probably largely in terms of like, why did we pick it? Largely because we're still probably reeling off the highs of Lego Star Wars, the Skywalker saga, which has, some little tie-ins and stuff in this, of course. It's also, we're winding down summer. It's Lego, so I'm always happy to talk about that, and it's Star Wars, so Logan is always happy to talk about that. So, a little bit of the history lesson on this. This was originally released a few weeks ago, August 5th, 2022. It has a runtime of about 48 minutes. I don't know how many of those minutes are credits, though. I watched the latest She-Hulk this morning before I went to bed, basically, and it was like a 30-minute episode, and I finished and got to like the mid-credits scene or whatever, and then like went to stop watching and it had like 5 minutes of credits left, and I was like, okay, so this was a 25-minute episode. Cool. In the Lego Star Wars timeline of things, we, of course, had the previous episodes that we've done here on that D Plus show of the holiday special that came out November of 2020. Then last year, we had the Terrifying Tales special that came out October of last year. We have Summer Vacation here, and who knows what we're going to have. There seemed to be like a sense of finality here to this. Yeah. So I don't know if they're going to continue doing any more of these, but we'll leave that in TBD land for if we will get any more Lego Star Wars series. A roll call here. We have Ken Cunningham as the director, who's also the director for prior to the holiday special and Terrifying Tales. Prior to that, he'd also directed a handful of other Lego projects like Lego Marvel Spider-Man, Vexed by Venom, Lego Jurassic World, Legend of Isla Nublar, which is a 13 episode series, and the aforementioned Lego Star Wars holiday special and Terrifying Tales. The writer is David Shane, who also was basically a collaborator on all of these recent Lego Star Wars projects. He also written a couple episodes of Phineas and Ferb and a lot of other miscellaneous Lego episodes and shorts and stuff like that. For starring, we have Weird Al Yankovic as Vic Vanko in here, of course known from his iconic film of the 80s, early 90s, maybe, UHF.
I think it's 80s.
And he's also, of course, a 5-time Grammy Award winner.
Love Weird Al.
He is, fun fact, the first concert I ever went to was a Weird Al concert.
Ooh, that's a great concert to go to, too, I bet.
It was, yeah, he did, he did the State Fair circuit a number of times when I was growing up, but I remember that specifically being where I saw him was at the Coliseum down. Like, we went to the State Fair, and then in the evening we went, because the amphitheater down there was like part of the fairgrounds, and so yeah, we got to see Weird Al. So that's one of like 4 concerts I've been to in my life. I believe the others were Bare Naked Ladies was one, Childish Gambino I saw, and then the impromptu unexpected Smash Mouth concert that I accidentally attended because of Kind of Funny Prom.
Absolutely.
But yes, Weird Al. One of the greats. I would love to see him in concert again. I was actually like, after watching this, I was like, I should look up, because I know he's on tour again right now. I should look up and see if he's coming through or if he's already come through and I missed it. We also have in here Ashley Birch playing Malner and the tour droid, both characters in the 3rd segment. She is, of course, the voice of Tiny Tina, as well as Chloe Price and Aloy, and she can be seen regularly on Mythic Quest, the Ubisoft-produced series on Apple TV Plus, or Apple Plus. D. Bradley Baker is in here as Boba Fett, as well as the droid BVRJ, which I did not catch until like reading this elsewhere that that's beverage. That is the basically the bartender droid that Finn talks to. D. Bradley Baker also voices Wicket in this. He is probably best known for doing all of the other clones across Star Wars,
Right.
as well as a ton of other voice credits, including Klaus from American Dad, Olmec from Legends of the Hidden Temple, Ra's al Ghul from Batman Arkham City, threw that one in just for you, and Momo and Appa from Avatar The Last Airbender. Eric Bauza playing Luke Skywalker in here. He's also previously in Space Jam: A New Legacy, as well as he was Luke in the Terrifying Tales last time around. Helen Sadler is in here as Rey. She was the voice of Lizbert in Bug Snacks. She was also in the holiday special, but I don't believe she was in Terrifying Tales, but she is back here in this one, and she was also Rey in the Lego Star Wars The Skywalker Saga. Jake Green, I believe, is the only one of like the core trio of that of the sequel trilogy that played their character in all three. He was Poe Dameron in Holiday Special as well as Terrifying Tales. He's also been in Final Fantasy VII Remake, The Last of Us Part 2, Spider-Man Miles Morales, as well as the 2018 Spider-Man. And in 2021, he was in Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, as well as The Artful Escape. James Arnold Taylor in here as Obi-Wan Kenobi, as well as the voice of Kozler. He was, of course, also Obi-Wan in the Clone Wars, as well as Ratchet and Clank. And he was in Terrifying Tales last year, and he was also Obi-Wan in the Skywalker Saga game. Kylie Curran playing Sidero, the little girl that young Ben Solo has a little crush on. Previously was in Dr. Sleep, and she'll be in the upcoming miniseries The Fall of the House of Usher, which I enjoy because I am a big fan of Ray Bradbury stuff. So I'm looking forward to that. Matt Lanter playing Anakin Skywalker here, reprising his role from the Clone Wars. Matt Sloan playing Vader, who's done Vader in a number of things, going back to The Force Unleashed. Matthew Wood playing Ben Solo, which, like, I could have sworn it was just Weird Al playing Ben Solo because he has kind of like a Weird Al voice to him. But no, Matthew Wood playing Ben Solo. Sound editor by day, perhaps best known as the voice of General Grievous. He was also recently in What If, and he was Bib Fortuna in the season 2 finale of The Mandalorian, reprising his role from having played Bib Fortuna in Phantom Menace, I think. Like all the way back to that. I think you can see him in the box at the pod race with Jabba the Hutt.
Yeah, that's exactly where he's at.
Yeah. He also was Ben in Terrifying Tales last year. Omar Benson Miller playing Finn. I didn't get to shout this one out because I don't think you joined us for Terrifying Tales or the holiday special that he was in, actually. Omar Benson Miller is the big little brother that Charlie takes to vote in The West Wing in the Election Day episode.
Very nice.
So
Yeah,
funny
exactly
to see that
about.
He's gone into a career of voice acting here. He was also in a number of episodes of CSI Miami, as well as Ballers. He's recently been Raphael in Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And yeah, he was also Finn in the holiday special, the Lego Star Wars holiday special.
That's a great little...
Yeah. Paul F. Tompkins playing the like 80s villain send-up character Rad. Of course, a stand-up comedian, as well as probably notable voice acting role as Mr. Peanut Butter in BoJack Horseman. Ross Marquand playing Han Solo. He's also known from The Walking Dead. He took over the role of Red Skull in Infinity War. He took over the role of Ultron starting in What If. And he's also in the Amazon Prime series Invincible as the Immortal. Shelby Young here playing Princess Leo Organa. She was previously in Star Wars Visions, and she was also Leia in the Terrifying Tales short last year. Thomas Lennon as Wick Cooper, of course, Lieutenant Dangle from Reno 911. He's done a whole bunch of other stuff, but he's Lieutenant Dangle. Trevor Duvall playing Palpatine, as well as Wuher Mon Calamari and an Imperial officer. He was in a number of other things as Palpatine, including, I believe, the last couple shorts. He was also Andrea Rodea in Final Fantasy VII Remake, Rocket Raccoon in the Guardians of the Galaxy and Avengers Assemble series. So making the rounds there in the Disney voice acting stuff. And we have Yvette Nicole Brown playing Colvette Valeria. I will always remember her from Community, but she was also in the 2015 version of The Odd Couple alongside Thomas Lennon, was, I believe, Felix in that. She was also in Lego Star Wars The Freemaker Adventures as this character, Lieutenant Valeria, but here she has a name introduced, which Colvette is a combination of Cole from Nicole, her middle name, and Yvette, of course, from her first name. So it's a portmanteau of her first and middle names. She's also in Muppet Haunted Mansion, and she'll be in the upcoming Enchanted sequel, Disenchanted. And then lastly, we have a few cameos from stalwarts, including, of course, Anthony Daniels as C-3PO and Billy D. Williams as Lando, and Kelly Marie Tran reprising her role as Rose Tycho.
Love it.
Trivia-wise, we have a fun little opening treatment where the Disney Plus series have the red and blue helmets sequence. We get the same kind of sequence, but with Lego helmets instead for this. The Halcyon that they enjoy over the course of this is the luxury starliner that you can board if you visit Star Wars Galactic Star Cruiser Adventure in Florida and can fork over nearly $5,000 for a 2-day experience.
Absolutely mad. I was like, the minute I saw it trivia,
yep,
it's just it's broken my brain. It broke my brain again after first hearing about it. It's just such an absurd amount of money.
It is, yeah. And but they, the interiors that you see are designed inspired by the interior of the hotel and the experience that you actually get. If you go look at images, it's yep, that's what they're doing. Poe even name drops the Crown of Corellia dining room, which is basically the kind of centerpiece dining room of that little experience. And the droids come out at one point wearing bathrobes / towels with the Chandrilla Star Line logo, which is the in-universe company that manages the Halcyon and this luxury cruise line kind of thing. Other trivia, I actually translated the Orabesh on the activity planner that Finn gives Poe, which annoyingly just says most of the things that Poe says in his line that's a follow-up, but it is titled Activities List, and then it says Bridge Tour at the top, Hollow Sabacc Tournament, Crown of Corellia Dining Room, and Engineering Room Tour. Additionally, Orabesh that can be found throughout the episode. The banner held up by the Jawas outside of Jabba's palace in the first story reads, Happy Birthday, Jabba. The trophies at the beach read, Yay, with an exclamation point in Arabesh. The letters on the flag at Minbam read Minbam, which is the planet that Solo not begins on, but the war planet that Solo meets Chewie on that he references in this. It was that planet from Solo. And the t-shirt, the t-shirts nearby read, I heart mud, but the heart is a mud splatter. Weird Al Yankovic, known for playing the accordion, his character in this special, Vic Venko, plays a bandfill, which is an instrument originally seen in the Cantina, played by Nalan Cheel of The Modal Nodes, which is Fing something and The Modal Nodes, I believe, is the band that is playing in the Cantina. Fing Darren, maybe something like that. I don't know. Anyway, C-3PO and R2-D2, the ugly sweaters that they're wearing in here, will be also featured in this year's Lego Star Wars Advent Calendar, which is a fun little thing that my mom gets me every year for Christmas. Basically, it's a daily little mini Lego set or minifig or something that you can pull out. It will also feature Darth Vader's Scarif tank top outfit, sadly without the tropical porg hat, as well as the Mustafar sandcastle that Finn builds. So they're doing a little mashup of the holidays and the summer vacation thing that they highlighted here. And then lastly, I pulled in here Palpatine name drops Ronto wraps, which you can order and eat at Galaxy's Edge. I've had them. They're delicious. I believe Cam had one when we were there as well. I think when you, me, and Frank did like the dinner at that like the like the little outpost with like fried chicken and stuff, I believe Cam went and had a Ronto wrap.
Yeah, I went ahead and looked for the modal nodes. It is Fig Don.
Fing Don? Yeah.
Figrin Don.
There you go.
And the modal nodes.
Well, that's it for the trivia. So what did you think of this one, Logan? Have you, I guess first, did you watch either of the other two Lego Star Wars specials?
I haven't. I've wanted to since they came out. I just haven't gotten around to it. The holiday special, I mean, really both actually, I think sound like a ton of fun. It is interesting watching this. This is both what I expected it to be and also sort of very different than what I expected it to be.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot less silly, goofy fun all the way through than I thought it was going to be. And I'll be curious to know if it's just because like this is maybe the last of the three and so maybe that's why or not. But some of the stories are definitely more serious than others. And like, you know, I think they all have moments of kind of like, oh, okay. But because like even Obi-Wan's story that kind of is like the first, like the three little vignettes, which is probably the goofiest of the three, like still has like certain moments in it, I think. But like that is probably the most what I thought this was going to be. And then I think by the end, and we're getting the stuff with like Han and Leia and Ben, and it's like, this is like, you know, less like pure fun and more like, that's kind of a almost downer note to end on, knowing what happens next kind of thing.
Exactly. I think that is what fuels a lot of that feeling for me, at least, is like that one ending with Ben Solo going off to be trained by Luke, and that's like the last time Han and Leia supposedly see him or whatever.
Really see him.
And so yeah, it's like, oh yeah, we know the arc and the horrors that are going to happen there. So yeah, it is a bit of a downer kind of beat to end on. But I think there is just this one in particular has a different tone to it because it is like the framing device of it all is this is like our last hurrah, and and Finn is like unable to, you know, connect with and hang out with his friends. And so he's going on all these, you know, these other journeys instead of getting to spend like one last adventure with his friends. So yeah, it's interesting. The holiday special was probably the goofiest of these three because the holiday special was very much leaning into the like Star Wars history of holiday specials.
Right.
But
original.
B was like there was basically like a time travel element to it where you had the generations kind of getting mixed up, which like there was a little bit of fun to that aspect of it. And then Terrifying Tales, much like this one, was, I mean, I think they actually were all anthology-esque. I think the first one probably had the most direct through line, but Terrifying Tales in particular was like the Lego Star Wars version of a Halloween Treehouse of Horror kind of thing. Right. And this more so continues that on, but doesn't have the like, we're going to have all three of these be like scary story kind of things to connect them. So yeah, I think instead we just get weird like that, but with the theme being a summer vacation and the fact that like our, you know, narrators of those summer vacations being Obi-Wan, Anakin Skywalker telling a Palpatine story, and our first real experience with like Ghost Leia is definitely an interesting mix.
It was really weird to like how I think much they stretched these summer vacation stories, right? Like,
yeah,
especially like the Obi-Wan story in particular, just sort of like, it's always hot on Tatooine. You're in a desert world. It's like kind of hard to know when it's a summer. And it's just like, they're like them doing, this is a summer story, was just like them wearing like Hawaiian shirts. And that was like about it. And it's like, all right, yeah, cool. Like we're going to just go with that, I guess. And it's fine.
Yep. I will say, in terms of just like things I enjoyed, Obi-Wan singing this song Gamorrean Girls and Gamorrean
Gamorrean
Guys,
girls, yeah.
completely just is silly. So,
So
now
weird and
we've
funny, yeah,
got
and
Obi
goofy.
and Obi-Wan duet with Cy Snoodles,
Yeah,
who has a little cameo in there. And Max Rebo, of course, playing in the
always.
background. So
I
yeah,
think that was one of my favorite parts of the entire special. Was like that, like whole, like 3.5 minute sequence is like like it's like so much of what I wanted this to be. Like, and it feels among the most like Lego Star Warsy kind of moments. Like if they made that into like a movie or TV show, which is like it's silly, it's goofy, it's super tongue in cheek. They're like are so many little like oh moments in that as like characters kind of pop in like just like a flash, like Max Rebo, and even like the like rebel spy character like dropping from the ceiling like she's like Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible is like a funny moment, right? And her whole thing, and like Obi-Wan like eyeing each character who's in the way and like name dropping them to get them to start dancing too, all the way down to like him getting like too caught up on his own bit, right? It's like also funny and silly and goofy and like what I want from that. And it felt like they put a lot of time into that, and because they devote a lot of time to it, but like it's totally worth it. I think it's super fun and silly.
yeah, it's also an interesting thing, especially on the heels of the Obi-Wan show,
Mhm.
because presumably this seems like a story that takes place either before Obi-Wan or after Obi-Wan, but definitely in that like he's hidden on Tatooine, kind of like
Right.
that era of Obi-Wan. And so yeah,
It's got to
it's
be
certainly.
after Obi-Wan, right? Because Luke is older. He's not like a child in the little like shot they have of him.
Did we get a shot of Luke
Yeah,
in
because
there?
when she asked him to leave, and he's like he like looks at like because Luke
Oh,
asked him some question. He's like, I can't. I've got like shit I gotta do here. Basically, I gotta watch this bumbling
oh, yeah.
chucklehead.
Okay, there you go. Yeah, that's right. But yeah, just like that's a interesting timing wise of like we just saw that whole Obi-Wan story, and now like the next version of that Obi-Wan we get is like just a silly goofball.
It
Um,
was weirdly timed too for me because like I started seeing the clips of like I tweeted out actually today too, but like all the people who are like, if this was made in 2007,
mhm.
and one of the ones that like was like, holy shit, that's really good actually, is the ending of Obi-Wan where like he walks up to Luke, and like says like his hello there kind of thing, and like it closes the episode. But someone did it to like the Linkin Park Terminator music, or not Terminator, Transformers like music, and like it works really good actually. Like it's like the slow button is like hello there, cut, and then like bah! And so like I just had Obi-Wan saying hello there in my head, and then this episode happens, and obviously he says it here.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. They
Never
definitely,
doesn't work for me.
obviously they have a ton of like lines and references and callbacks and
Oh
stuff.
yeah,
Like I I enjoy the irony of the Anakin story, both Ghost Anakin coming out in scuba gear to give him the of course iconic breathing apparatus stuff. But then also just the like all of the like arguments about sand and how it gets everywhere and it's so annoying. And then, just that whole thing happening on the one beach planet we really get of Scarif.
right.
Um so
And
that
then
yeah.
I've got an idea to build something here later.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
do want to give a shout out to probably my favorite, just like 20 seconds devoted to them character, which is the bartender at the cantina who just keeps telling everyone like, "Don't get involved, don't get involved, don't get
Yeah.
involved, don't say anything." Like such a funny like little bit that's like, yeah, it's great.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, and it's definitely like that. Like as soon as he comes in that thing, I'm like, oh yeah, that's definitely what a Lego version of that bartender looks like.
Right,
So yeah, I love that. Yeah, that Obi-Wan's just been going to the cantina for all those years now.
right.
Um, but yeah, the like every time it comes up,
Mhm.
especially just because of like his mannerisms, I can like this Palpatine and what they do with this
Mm,
Palpatine just always feels like the Robot Chicken or the Family
yeah,
Guy
I
Palpatine.
think Robot Chicken in particular is super spot on. I think.
Yeah. It's just like they're they're leaning more into that version of Palpatine than their own version of Palpatine. But I will say, in that note, one of the things I like about these series is that, like, these, and obviously with like Lego Star Wars, the Skywalker saga, these feel like the place where Star Wars is the most free to make fun of itself.
Yeah,
And so you get, Finn earlier in the episode being like, oh no, did the
back.
did Palpatine come back again? um
Yeah.
just to, poke fun at the stupidity of
It's so
that thing
stupid. Yeah,
already.
but it's great. Like, I do think there is a level of freedom to the Lego games that just aren't, and just TV specials, whatever you want to call these, that just isn't afforded to the regular series. And it's weird too, because it the regular, we've had this conversation certainly off air, maybe on air, I can't remember at this point, but the regular like main Star Wars series that are happening right now, because we haven't had any movies obviously since Rise of Skywalker, are all like very weird, I think, in a lot of ways, where like they're so fixated on, like, in good and bad ways, to be totally fair, but like it's sort of like fan servicey moments, it feels like, almost, for like a lack of a better word. And like kind of bringing back all these like obscure characters and giving them a second like shot, or just more time. Obviously the Boba Fett series, even if it's not actually about Boba Fett, but even like the Obi-Wan series, which I think, and I think you would agree, is done really well. And just like all the different characters that pop up in the Mandalorian, shout out to Cad Bane. But
No, he showed up
it's
in the Book of Boba Fett. You just thought it was the Mandalorian
God,
because
you're right.
the
You're right.
second half of that show ends up being the
100%.
Mandalorian.
You're 100% right. Wow, you're right. But yeah, like, and like all these moments that are kind of baked in there that are very like, yeah, like just like callbacks to these characters for like fans. And like Lego Star Wars, I think, has fun with being like, that's kind of silly though. That's kind of goof, and like making fun of how kind of silly that can be at times. Because Star Wars is in such a weird spot at the moment, like for like what this universe is, right? Where like we can't, like, the sequel trilogy, whether you liked it or not, is sort of relevant. Like, it's just like, I think, a little radioactive at the moment still, because you had a group of fans. How big they are, I think is pretty open to debate, but it's certainly a group of fans who did not like The Last Jedi, and then a pretty significant group of people who did not like Rise of Skywalker. And so like it ended on like kind of like arguably a double bad note, or certainly not, a universal loved note, that I think they just had to like stay clear of everything, to say nothing of like what happened with Solo. And so like we just aren't doing anything in the sequel series at all. And you even like the Galaxy's Edge is like incorporating other characters who don't belong in that timeline. Cause it's like, yeah, but like we have more character people like. And so like all of the shows are also set in like the past for those kind of characters. And so like it's just like in this weird spot where like we're not really telling any new stories. We're just sort of like telling side tales and stories we already know. And the only stories we're getting in like the sequel era are the Lego specials and the Lego games, really.
Yeah.
And I find that really interesting.
It's good. I mean, yeah, like all of these, all three, starting with the holiday special, take place like after the events of Rise of Skywalker. I mean, obviously, this one is continuing to make mention of Finn being a Jedi, and
Yeah.
is going to go out there and seek. And so it's especially interesting that like the level of canon that these are, obviously, is always
Yeah.
significantly, like, they're not really, but like the idea that they're sending these characters off on their own journeys, at least in the Lego version of Star Wars,
Right.
is certainly like a little fascinating little tidbit.
We get more of an ending here than we did in like Rise of Skywalker proper, in some ways, right? Of each of them, yeah, like going on their own separate journeys and kind of like getting like one last hurrah. Like this felt, I've never played it, but the way you've talked about it, this, like, that ending almost had the feel of like that Mass Effect 3 DLC where like they all get together for like one last party before the end of that game. And it had that sort of feel of like, yeah, we're all getting ready for like one last shebang. We're going to go off on our own things. Not have any movies about that, because John Boyega also like this week was like, I'm pretty done with Star Wars, which like also very fair based off how he was kind of, harassed. But it is just sort of interesting, right? Like that there is like a note of finality here to this story, and like maybe we won't just get any more stories set in the sequel trilogy. Right? They've been very clear as much as they are about anything in Star Wars about how like we don't plan on doing any more like Skywalker Saga movies and stories, so we might not get anything more of these characters for a while until they do like their own special series or something like that.
Yeah, or whatever is coming out about them is coming out in like graphic novel form or comics or
Right.
something like that. It's coming out in some other medium, because yeah, like I think another element of it is obviously like live action wise, they can't really do a lot because they're not going to be able to like they like recasting those characters or something isn't
Oh
gonna isn't
god.
gonna work well. And
Right.
so yeah, the stories they're telling, they've decided to like so we don't have to worry about trying to bring in any of our current cast people. Let's tell an old story, and if we're gonna bring anybody back, it's somebody we're just gonna like digitally de-age or something like that. But mostly it's gonna be people that are were tangential already. Um,
Right.
so yeah,
Because you have more freedom with those characters too, right? That's
yeah,
like the thing too, right? Is that like that's an element of I think what went. There's a lot that went wrong with the sequel trilogy by the end, but an element is just like yeah, it's a lot easier to do shit with Cad Bane than it is to do shit with Luke Skywalker, and
yeah,
people are just going to be less angry about that probably.
yeah. And so,
Like even Boba Fett, like what they did with there, like people were like would have feelings, but he's still just like yeah, but he's Boba Fett, like he is not on the same level as these other characters.
yeah, like Cad Bane, Ahsoka, especially, and the fact that she's getting her own show. Like so much of the fan base is just happy that like she's making that like they're making the jump from animation to live action.
To live action,
That they're like,
right?
and I think it helps that like for Ahsoka in particular, that like Dave Filoni, who is so like ingrained and connected to that character, is continuing her journey in live
Hmm.
action, as opposed to like if somebody new were trying to come in and take the reins. I think there would probably be more struggles and shift and stuff like that. But like the
This
fact that
isn't
it's got like
really
his seal of approval,
right.
and like
Carries a lot of weight.
gets carries weight with the fan base, and the fan base like like appreciate and respect what he has done to make the most out of in some cases some bad situations.
It's so interesting. This is a tangent, but like it is like Ahsoka in particular is interesting because I think the Clone Wars animated series I think serves such an important bridge from the prequels to the sequel trilogy in terms of like I mean basically like getting a whole generation of fans who maybe just saw episode 3 or episode 2 or maybe none of the prequel movies but who grew up in this world so enmeshed in the prequel era and Star Wars in general and kind of tided them over into the sequel trilogy happened. And I think, yeah, a little bit like you said, like they've just wanted to see this character in live action for so long. Um, Even if it does lead to like weird moments for me in my brain where it's like Ahsoka is like a 14-year-old girl in like the Clone Wars animated series, basically. But like obviously canonically, that is 20 years before episode 4. So then when we get to her in like Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett, it's like, oh right, like in my head she's 14, but actually she's like 40 now and is like 10 years older than Luke. But it's like such a weird thing to like think about because Mark Hamill obviously
Yeah,
is like 60 plus, so it's like this weird thing of like, all right, like all these characters are like existing in such like again, once you start trying to mix shit up in Star Wars, like the timelines, just like this isn't really just yeah, just don't worry about the timeline, guys. It'll make it way more enjoyable experience.
yeah. um which like even some of these, like going back to like the Scarif thing, I like that's a fun little thing because they're setting it up as like they went there well before the events of Rogue One, obviously,
Right.
um, and decided that's where they're going to leave their stuff, and leave and set up their like secret library of all their biggest technological secrets and stuff. Um, and so yeah, like even that's a fun little like just placing that in the timeline of things. Yeah, I guess that's somewhere
Right.
between like maybe 5-10 years after episode 3, probably something
3.
like that. But yeah, just there's a lot of silliness there. um
Right. And I think Lego Star that's part of the fun of like Lego Star Wars stuff is that like again, I think they're so self-aware of like how kind of nonsensical the chronology and timeline is, and it's just like, what if we just pick all the toys and play with them all together and like just not worry about that, and it's a way more enjoyable experience. And it's like, all right, this is just more fun than having to be like, well, this doesn't really make any sense. And Luke, he's like so young still, and like, oh, it's like, nah, just all the characters are together. Half of the cast is fucking Force Ghost. Just enjoy it. And it's like, all right, fine, that's great.
Yeah, that's like the fact that like it's because it's like the ghost of. I'm trying to think like chronologically. Maybe those first two stories are happening probably around the same time or something like that.
Yeah, I mean theoretically, yeah.
Like,
and the other one is
because
30 years
exactly,
later, basically, right?
There was a moment where I was trying to think like, like, are we getting like a ghost of past, present, and future kind of storyline there with, and it's like, no, they didn't bother doing anything with that kind of stuff. I love I love the Finn line of like, wait, did you just give me a life lesson from Emperor Palpatine? Like, that's just hilarious that like, yeah, that's pretty much how that story was phrased.
Right.
And so yeah, it's just like that's very
Be
silly.
in the moment, yeah.
But I also like the then when we do get to the like the sequel era story of young Ben and Han and stuff, like even that is calling back and making fun of Solo a little bit there with like, this is where they threw you into the mud with Chewie to die, and yeah, you ended up becoming friends, so great, but like that's not what that story was about. And then like just we go back to Endor, we get Ewoks, shout out to Wicket and that whole crew being straight ready to kill and eat the Lieutenant Dangle guy who's there to like build up a resort around them and kind of exploit all that stuff. And then it's just kind of a generic like 80s teen, like you got a bully, you got the guy trying to impress the girl and the girl's best friend, and then they go on a they accidentally get stuck in the Millennium Falcon, flying through not an asteroid debris, because as Han points out, there aren't asteroids around the around Endor. Must be the Death Star 2 debris. So the pieces of the Death Star that per Rise of Skywalker are in a completely different area, like a completely different planet or moon of Endor. But they're apparently still floating in space, at least at this point in the timeline.
Right.
Yeah, just
the fact that
just silly stuff.
Summer Vacation gets the events of Return of the Jedi more correct than Rise of Skywalker will never. It's like, oh my gosh, it's just so silly. Like that whole thing of just like, literally, if they had just watched the movie of Return of the Jedi, they could have been like, this doesn't really make any sense. And yeah, they reference that here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think ultimately for me, like, it definitely makes me want to watch the other two more. And especially like, Terrifying Tales, like we've already done a podcast about this from last year. Go check it out. Like, me and you were each big Simpsons fans in general, but also like Treehouse of Horror in particular, we each really love. And so like, I think that's a really appealing thing to me. And then the holiday special, just for almost like the kind of fun nostalgia of that. But like, yeah, it's a weird tonal ride at times. But it is, so much of, I think, the goofy, more fun side of Star Wars. And I think Star Wars hasn't been like fun for a while. Like Obi-Wan is maybe, and like its moments with like Leia, maybe the most fun Star Wars has been since like Force Awakens, maybe Solo, right? If you're really into that. But like we have like the sequel trilogy movies got not fun, even if you think they're great, they're not like, this is a fun experience after Force Awakens, really. And then like none of the TV series are like fun, lighthearted fairs. They're all pretty serious kind of dramas. And so it's just nice to have like a fun Star Wars 48-minute kind of ride.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's very much, in the vein of the Skywalker or the Lego Star Wars games.
Right.
Definitely like playing with those kinds of moments, getting to have those little bits of levity where the writer can kind of like poke fun at the things that the movies did or should have done or something like that. and have the characters kind of comment on those little beats and stuff like that. But yeah, like overall, it's fun. As I'm thinking back
Agreed.
on it, like Terrifying Tales in particular, kind of sets up like a potential sequel to Terrifying Tales. So like I'm very curious if they will ever like come back to that. Or if that was just like a nope, it was a tease for something that's never actually going to happen. But yeah, it'll be interesting. Um, I don't think I have too much anything else to really chime in on about these. Like none.
I liked it.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fine enough. I watched it a couple times. Like I watched it once last week before just to like watch it, and then I watched it again to kind of like refresh it and take some notes and stuff. Like I will say, I like the Weird Al song. It's I will say like neither of the songs are like I especially went back and like specifically watched the credits to see what they were, because like neither of them are written by Weird Al. It's just Weird Al is performing them. It is the writer
Right.
of the episode wrote those songs, and it definitely doesn't have like the Weird Al vibes, especially like compared to something like the freaking American Pie knockoff that he did a number of years ago that just is all the plot of the Phantom Menace to American Pie. But then like even Yoda, going back to kind of that Weird Al classic, like they don't have the like Weird Al brings his performance to it, but they're very clearly not written by Weird Al kind of songs. And I think that like I think a stronger bit there could have helped a little bit, just for like they're fun enough, but they don't like and Scariff Beach Party is a little bit catchy. Like it sticks with me a little bit after hearing it. Like Gamorrean Girls in particular, it's like if that had been introduced to us as like here's what the song normally sounds like, cool, we could go from there. But the fact that like all we get is this weird, sometimes out of tempo version from Obi-Wan is like, this isn't landing for me as well as I think it could have landed. Like it
worked for me.
It's funny enough, but I think it could have been just like a couple beats better. If it had been executed in different ways. But overall, it's a fun enough time. I did enjoy the montage of things they're doing on the beach. Obviously, like the idea of turning a limbo stick into a lightsaber just makes me chuckle. And how wrapped up Palpatine gets in trying to win so he can be ruler of the beach, and then how annoyed he is. He is the quintessential boomer that's super pissed off about everybody getting participation trophies.
Yeah, right.
But yeah. All right. Well, let's go ahead and give it a grade from A+ to F on our report card. What do you want to give Lego Star Wars Summer Vacation, Logan?
I'm gonna give it a B.
B?
I liked it. I think it's fun.
Yeah, I'm probably B- myself. Admittedly, I don't remember where I landed on like Holiday Special or Terrifying Tales in terms of like the hierarchy of things, but it's definitely a fun enough time. Largely like watched it and we'll forget about it moving forward, but I do appreciate that even within like the Lego canon of things, it's drawing in its own characters, like that Yvette Nicole Brown character. Just because like I saw when I was pulling together her like previous acting credits and stuff, I saw the Freemaker Adventures. I was like, oh, and then I saw the same last name. I'm like, oh, she's playing the same character that she played in that other series that I see every time as a recommendation on these things. Never gonna check out myself, but like it's cool that like the people behind these Lego Star Wars things like working with the same people over and over again to say, hey, yeah, you know who would work great for this? Yvette Nicole Brown. Let's bring her character into this as like a little pairing with Obi-Wan and have some fun there. Cool. So yeah, B- for me. Extra credit, other suggestions if you like this. You have, of course, Lego Star Wars Holiday Special, Lego Star Wars Terrifying Tales, Lego Star Wars All-Stars, Lego Star Wars The Freemaker Adventures. And for the first time, the other two times we've done these Lego Star Wars things, it's just been a whole bunch of other like Lego Star Wars one-off things. But instead for this one, they branched out and were like, also, you should go check out Star Wars Rebels and Star Wars Resistance and Star Wars The Bad Batch and Star Wars The Clone Wars. So basically all the other Star Wars animation projects, as opposed to random one-off the Yoda Chronicles or something of Lego Star Wars. But yeah. Extracurriculars. You watch anything else on Disney Plus, Logan?
She-Hulk, I guess, right?
Did you watch the episode 2?
I haven't. I'll probably do it tomorrow.
Okay.
But She-Hulk watching, and then I know that Pinocchio comes out soon. I don't know if like Pinocchio is such an interesting one for me because it always like it's a story that always like freaks me out a little bit as a kid. So but like I love Tom Hanks, so maybe I'll watch the new one. I probably will. And then I'll almost certainly watch the making of Obi-Wan thing when that comes out on a couple weeks from now.
September 8th, Star Wars or Disney Plus Day. Yeah.
I was looking at it Slack. Yeah, September 8th. Yeah.
All those are coming out for Disney Plus Day. Those along with Thor: Love and Thunder. So I'm sure
I just saw.
We'll do our that D Plus show for that when that comes out. And then we might do the Pinocchio one. Pinocchio is one of those.
Pinocchio creeps me out.
Like Pinocchio is not one that like was in regular rotation when I was growing up. Like we had we had the movie, and I remember watching it a few times, I'm sure. But like especially since I grew up in the era of like The Little Mermaid and Beauty and the Beast and Aladdin and Lion
Disney
King, like
right,
those were the ones that like I was growing up with. Pinocchio has like No Strings on Me, and that's like a song I remember. And then like A Dream Is a Wish Your Heart Makes or whatever was a boring ballad for a 5-year-old kid or whatever. So I didn't want to I didn't want to sit through that. In the same way that I hate Cheer Up Charlie from Willy Wonka.
For me, like Dumbo and Pinocchio were always two that just like kind of like something about them just like gave me like the heebie-jeebies as a kid. Like those are the two I remember just like I watched the least out of any of them because they just like unsettled me. Pinocchio in particular, I always found just like really creepy as like a kid growing up. So like I just steered clear of that one, and we just contentedly watched the Robin Hood, like 60s one all the time, and then any of the like Renaissance films would be on repeat.
The ones with the good music. But yeah, we'll see. I'm curious about that
Have we
one.
Done a D+ on the Robin Hood?
We might have. I might have done that at some point.
It's a great movie.
Yeah.
Love that Robin Hood.
Or if we haven't, I definitely like wanted to at some point. Let me see. Let me pull that up.
We're doing research live on the air.
Yeah, no, we did. Episode 58. Me and Cam.
Episode 58.
Yeah.
It's a great movie.
Episode 58, me and Cam talked about it. And discussed that it is maybe the best iteration of the Robin Hood story.
Ooh. Men in Tights would be up there for me as well.
I mean, yeah, like Men in Tights, I would say Men in Tights is maybe a little bit more iconic, but like it's so leaning into like the comedy side of things.
Men in Tights
and I think
it's a really interesting question. Yeah. It might be.
Because like obviously the Kevin Costner, one is probably like the most like high prestige version of things. This was also I was right off of seeing the who's the guy, Taron Egerton, in a recent one where Jamie Foxx played Little John, and it was like it was a modern flavoring of it, but still in Guy like Ritchie, medieval times. I don't think it was a Guy Ritchie.
I know Guy Ritchie did a Robin Hood story.
Maybe. I don't think it was him. But anyway,
I'm already checking. I know that the BBC had like a 3-series like mini series. I don't know what you'd call that, but like 3-season long like version of Robin Hood that was like pretty good. I thought it was pretty all right.
Yeah.
But I think you might be right. I think it might be my favorite version of Robin Hood. If we can't count Men in Tights, would be the Disney one.
Yeah. Anyway. In terms of, I mean, yeah, a lot of that stuff coming out on Disney Plus Day, so we're already kind of looking at like, oh yeah, that gives us a few potential things to do for content for next month, here in a couple weeks. In terms of other things I'm watching, I did watch this week's She-Hulk, which was like a weird thing because I was going to bed last night a little earlier than I usually do, and then I realized like, oh, She-Hulk's gonna like debut in like 5 minutes. I guess I should I'll stay up and watch that. So I watched that before going to bed. Enjoyed it. Um, it's leaning into kind of what we talked about last week of like, yep, they're leaning away from the Hulk Bruce stuff, and they're leaning into there's more stuff with her family than I was anticipating.
Mm.
But yeah, this episode is largely like how this is impacting her lawyery life,
Cool.
and where that goes. And it also
Excited
is
to watch that.
interesting in where it kind of ends, tying things into the broader MCU in terms of like where in the timeline this is taking place. So
Nice.
yeah, definitely check out She-Hulk. And then I'm also, as always, I threw in the how High School Musical. I almost always say How I Met Your Mother because they're always the like terribly
Abbreviated
long
ones.
named things that you just abbreviate. But yes, High School Musical, the musical, the series. Watched the latest episode of that, where they basically tried to pretend they were all in a drama-filled reality show, which was, cheesy, dumb. But it's there are worse ways to spend a half hour. But yeah,
I do want to say that the Robin Hood film from 2018 with Taron Egerton, it does not look like it was directed by Guy Ritchie. But in looking at the Taron Egerton one, I do want to give it a shout out for being the lowest Rotten Tomatoes score I've ever seen something have, which is it is a 15% on Rotten Tomato.
yeah, it
So I
was.
would not watch that one probably if I had to guess.
It was one I think I'm pretty sure I watched it on like a movie pass or something like that, and
I would hope.
like it's like Tara Edgerton's fine. Ben Mendelsohn
I like Taron
Ben
Egerton a lot.
Mendelsohn plays the sheriff of Nottingham, and he's fun in it because he's fun as like the bad guy in the things that he shows up in. Uh,
Mm.
Jamie Foxx is doing something as an interpretation of Little John.
Right, Lil Jon.
But yeah, it's like
Something.
its real weakness is like it's trying to do the like let's make it an edgy set in a modern kind of setting, but also
Mhm.
still like a historical setting. Like the like it opens with Robin of Locksley going off to war, and he's like they're in basically like a Afghanistan kind of setting or something like that, and a rapid fire bolt crossbow gets open, like a machine gun crossbow basically like opens fire on his platoon or whatever. And it's just like, this is weird, this is just weird. So they definitely made some choices. I don't think they were good choices, but so yeah, shout out to instead the animated Robin Hood. But yeah, well, that is going to do it for this episode of That D Plus Show. Thank you for joining me, Logan, to talk about Lego Star Wars Summer Vacation. You can follow Logan at Lefty Logie, Logggy. Anything you want to give a shout out to there, Logan?
I will give a shout out to Cameron's run of Friday Night Dying Lights, which is nearing its conclusion, its finale. He has been an incredible project. So everyone go applaud and shout for Cameron. And then this might be still in your shout out, but I also will go ahead and shout out. I finally got my giant ranking of all 25 Bond films, which is a nice little capstone to, at this point, what has been a 8-month long, 9-month for when we started recording them, journey for me and Trevor going through all the Bond films. So it was a lot of fun. It was a nice kind of coda to that. So go check out all of that and go check out Cameron's Friday Night Dying Lights Let's Plays.
Indeed, yeah. You can follow me at Trevor J. Starkey, and I was I shouted out your piece on this week's That Nerdy Site show as well. But yes, also here,
Appreciate it.
go check out Logan's big old epic ranking of all of the Bond movies.
Mhm.
It was like 20 pages in a Google Doc or something like
Yeah,
that. So
yeah, it was.
definitely some meat behind that one.
A lot of movies.
Indeed.
Yeah, a
You
lot
can
of movies to run through.
also shout out the Let's Plays this week.
Mhm.
Started out with Cult of the Lamb, which was the Tuesday Let's Play game I basically played on my weekend last week, which is my weekends are Sunday and Monday. Had a great time with, a lot of fun with. Created a little that nerdy cult, naming all the villagers and the cultists after our circle, and then assorted friends once I kind of got past the original 8 of that nerdy site. Had fun little things like Frank daring me to or challenging me to prank Cameron by having Cameron eat a bowl of poop. So you got fun stuff like that. I think you, Logan, I think wanted to be sacrificed at some point in time. So I think I did that, and I think I brought you back. I resurrected you because you can do that in the game. Jazz, I think, lived, like, I gave her like some kind of artifact, and she basically just like lived throughout the entirety of the game. Like, characters will get old and die naturally, but you can give a character something that will like double their lifespan. And so like very late in the game, I'm still like seeing Jazz running around. I'm just like, you go, Jazz, and I'll look at the thing, and she'll be like 98 years old. I'm like, way to go,
rocking.
Jazz. Way to go. So shout out to Cult of the Lamb. And then on Thursday, I started a who knows how long it's going to run mini series of me playing Skyrim because it's a game I've been eager to hop back into. So while I'm waiting for kind of the next thing to really grab me, I booted that up, and I've got at least 4 episodes coming down the line, and I'll probably sit down and record some more here this weekend. So, I don't know if it'll be like that's just going to be the thing that goes up. It might be, or I might start using it as filler once other things come out that I want to check out and play and dabble in for the Let's Plays. But you can go find out all our Let's Plays every Tuesday and Thursday. Logan was talking before we started recording about maybe he's going to sit down and record some Let's Plays, so we'll see if that happens. But yeah. Otherwise, you can follow all the oh my god, I said an otherwise. That's a Loganism. You can follow all of the latest from us over at That Nerdy Site, or go to thatnerdysite.com for all the latest. Once again, if you liked what you heard, please. Actually, I don't know if I said this at the top, because I copied this template today from the Terrifying Tales one, which was still when we had a Patreon. So so I had to basically like update that, or maybe I copied it from I don't remember. Anyway, I think I had to change some things around in the formatting, but I don't think I said it before. So if you liked what you heard, please like, rate, review, subscribe, share the podcast with your friends, all that fun stuff. Thank you for joining us. As always, stay nerdy, be good to each other, class dismissed, and may the force be with you.